Okay, shall we get going? We're 2 minutes past five, which is half an hour in the online world.
Yeah.
Great, okay. Well, welcome everyone. Thanks for joining us today. I believe it's going to be an interesting webinar for you all. My name is Patrick. I'm one of the directors at DeepInspire and your host for this webinar. Today, we'll touch on ideas around how to demonstrate the value your company brings to prospects, sales targets, etc. This is especially pertinent for companies whose product is complex and/or highly configurable and flexible. The idea is to move you away from pitching/educating people about your product towards an approach that enables your prospects to explore and learn about the value of your company themselves. Of course, as a tech company, we'll naturally show you some of the tools that will help with that. So if you want to discover new ways to engage your audience and give your business development teams the best possible chance to convert leads, this is for you. So we're going to move you away from PowerPoint presentations, instructing your prospects all about what you can do, and towards engaging them about their problems and the value you can bring to them. So I think you'll get a decent amount out of this today. So who's this for? Yeah, as I just said, we want to bridge really connecting with prospects. So if you are on a sales team, or if you are the people empowered with delivering the tech / the marketing for your business development team, this will deliver good insights for you. Sorry, I'm not controlling this very well. It would be useful if you could please give us a small blurb to get about yourself and what brings you here in the comments section. We can then provide you with an overview of who've attended and why, along with these slides later. Don't panic, no personal information will be shared. Today we're going to hear from Simon Cole from SGK. He has an in-depth experience in this field, advising some of the largest global companies on how to engage potential customers and the digital strategies behind this. Joining him will be Tetiana, our Chief Delivery Officer. As everyone knows, talk is great, but action is key. Tetiana is one who turns theory into reality. She'll give you a breakdown of the practicalities involved in delivering an experience. Just a few practicalities before I hand you over to Simon. We have a Q&A session at the end. There's a Q&A button on your screen. Please use that to submit your questions. And not that it needs to be said, but please refrain from spamming the chat, promoting your business in this forum. And as always, be polite. So without further ado, I'll hand you over to Simon.
Thank you very much, Patrick. Much appreciated. Hello, everyone. Appreciate your time today, and hopefully give you some good insights and takeaways to compensate for the time. So what are we talking about today, and who's going to find this most relevant? Well, basically, as Patrick mentioned, we're looking at companies that maybe you've got a complex product or service or portfolio of products that you're trying to sell, or you suffer from a lot of numbers and a lack of engagement and so forth in a sea of sameness. Everybody's presenting PowerPoints or and so forth. So, how do you differentiate in this crowded market? And are there new technologies and ways in which we can do that to enable us to do a better job in trying to tell our particular brand story? Patrick, if you jump onto the next one. So, where are we tripping up maybe a little bit with PowerPoint? And I do kind of see the oxymoron here a little bit, that the fact we are presenting to you today in PowerPoint. But so there is obviously still a use case for these presentation tools, whether it be Google Sheets or Keynote or whatever. But there's current technologies coming through that allow us to tell your story, your brand story better. And this is, a case study of an example of that. So, we can cover off some of the failures or problems that we see with PowerPoints, which means, we can fall easily into a trap of trying to educate the customer on our product and service rather than engaging with them on what's really important with them, what's going to help change their lives, change their business, and so forth. So, if we start to think more around the mindset of we're going to start engaging and rather than presenting our product and service, we're going to allow them to experience that product and service, which of course will allow them to engage and retain that information. So that would again cover some of these key problems, because retention, as with anyone, we've if you've got we've all been there, a 50 page deck that you've got to go through. Who's understanding what are they taking away from it, how are we telling that story, and so forth. And also, in this day and age where we're data rich, right? So PowerPoints are typically standalone parts of the story. It's a singular touch point, and it's not linked with the entire buyer journey. So let's look at new technologies that can allow us to do that. So if you move on to the next one, Patrick, you maybe just explain what that is. So if we look at new technologies and how we can start to tell that story in a slightly different way, as I said, we're moving into the world of experiencing your value proposition as opposed to presenting that information to somebody and hoping that they retain it. So we can deliver that story in a very different way. We can transport people into worlds that they may not be able to physically go to, and that can be like here in the example that we're going to show shortly. With a technology company that's products are used in mines, they can't physically take people to the mines. They don't own the mines. It's dangerous, it's expensive, and so forth. So we can transport them with storytelling into that world, or you could potentially even go and tell a more elaborate story as a differentiator. As we've done as well with the use of VR, where we've taken people inside financial software programs as a way of kind of allowing people to visualize, which is a much easier way to understand a story, what that particular software package is doing to data. And again, as a key differentiator. So by looking at new technologies, this allows us to maybe tell our story a little bit different, and that would empower people such as myself, the sales team, and so forth, to become more memorable, differentiate themselves, and so forth. So that's kind of where we're going with this, and hopefully we'll demonstrate a good example of where you might be able to take some of these key elements into your own business. And then on to the next slide, Patrick. So let's look at how we might do that. So this is, the key thing is storytelling as far as the marketing element comes. Here, you're 22 more times likely to remember a fact when it's been wrapped in a story. And the more engaging we make that story, the more likely it is that you're going to stand out against your competition, and the key points of that story are going to be remembered when it comes to making buying decisions. So how can we tell that story in a more effective way? And we've got a nice little video here. So this is a good just example of what I was just talking about here. It's some of the work that we developed for a technology company called Hexagon. They make sensors and so forth that are used in the mining industry. And we built a world, essentially, that helps them tell their story. Their key story is connectivity. And here we can very clearly see that you don't have to be in a mine in Brazil to be able to manage your mine. You can do it from your nice comfy office in this case in London. So, very easy to explain, very high level storytelling, very engaging, and a very simple takeaway with doing that. And then if we go on to the next slide. Oh. So by doing that, we've got a storytelling medium, and we can add various interactive elements to that. It can be personalized. In this particular case, you can have multiple different variations of a story, for instance, and so forth, that you can then personalize and make it unique to that individual. It's highly engaging. It's also trackable, and we can start dropping these key elements in, whether it's in this particular case through a browser, or whether we look to other technologies, whether it's projected, whether it's on a conference booth, whether it's VR, whatever it is. But we can also add that consistency of brand, that consistency of storytelling across all these touch points, because obviously your prospects and your customers are going to interact with you on multiple occasions. So a standalone PowerPoint presentation won't be key to helping move that story and push that person through your buying journey. And then next slide, Patrick. So as you'll see in the video on the next one, we need to tell slightly nuanced stories depending on who you're speaking to. As we all know, especially either in the financial world or the B2B world, we have multiple different decision makers that are part of any kind of major purchase. What's relevant and what's engaging to the executive, the C-levels, would be very different to an engineer, very different to an end user, or operations, or finance, and so forth. So we need to tell multiple stories, and there's different ways in which we can do that, and which we've done in this particular one. As you saw from the previous video, and as you'll see in a video in just a minute, the very high level speaking, almost goal-driven approach. What does it do? It's very easy to understand. I understand immediately. Oh, okay, it allows me to connect from, or see additional information from my office in London, as opposed to constantly having to travel to Brazil, for instance. But then, we can embed additional data into that storytelling. So in this particular instance, elements pause after every key moment, and we can embed additional information. So it can be bullet points, it can be videos, and other things, which would be somebody that maybe is the next level down from the executive branch. They're not looking at goals. They've been given a specific task, and they're looking for solutions for those specific tasks. So we can identify those. And then the final level, which would be extremely detailed. And this is kind of where I touched on at the beginning about falling into a trap of where we have a tendency to if we have a complex product or service, to try and educate people on my product or service, which is not right, because they're not looking to become an expert on your product or service. They really want to know how it's going to change their business or their lives and so forth. But some elements of that detail would be needed by certain people in that decision-making process. So the third level on that, the product overview, gets down to the specifics. If you are one of those individuals, if you are in need of that specific information, it can be found, and it is associated with each of the individual products that we see in this case. So you've got three levels of information based upon the sort of person that you are, and it is all relevant and engaging to you. Next slide, Patrick. So, of course, UX is essential. I mean, as we, we don't want, we want people to concentrate on the message and the story that we're telling them, in order to, and not be frustrated or have issues with the difficulty in trying to find the information that they're looking to discover. So, of course, designing around an aesthetically pleasing UX that's intuitive and allows people to experience these new ways of telling stories that they may not be used to is essential. So, whether it's on the web, whether it's on booths or wherever this is, we have to focus on what the experience is and making sure that the different stories and so forth that we are telling are easily accessible, and we're not hiding information behind that story. So it's a key element that we need to make sure we're addressing as we go through the design part of this process. And I think we've got another video. So this is the beginning part of the mind. So of course this is a complex buying cycle, and we want to track and understand who's interacting with the life of mine experience, which is what this platform is called, in all of its different iterations, whether it be on the web or on conference booths and so forth and so forth. So the decision of where to put the gate was a key element on this. So what we allowed them to the users to do is to navigate freely around the world, as they're doing here, and get extremely high level information of all of the services and all of the what we call stations, the areas that their products and services appear in, and what they do, and that's a very high level of interactivity. It's a lot of fun. You can kind of fly around the mine and so forth. But then when they're looking to learn more, that's when we build the gate in. And by doing it this way, we're engaging them, we're creating interest and kind of alluring them into the reward for giving up their information. And at that point on, it then allows us to track their behaviors and so forth from a marketing standpoint all the way through the experience. And now I think I'm switching over to Tanya.
Yep. Thank you, Simon. So a few more words on gateway concept, and I will now talk more in details about technology side. So basically, gateway concept, I will just only add that it gives us qualified leads for those who haven't yet submitted contact form, haven't contacted your business to buy your products or services, but they are already quite interested in your brand and solutions, so they are ready to give you some information about themselves. Of course, it might not work for any kind of business. If, for example, you are more focused on traction and having as many users as possible, you might face drop-offs on this step, because it's really hard in modern world to give some information about yourself and spend 1 minute or so to enter email. So be ready for that. If you're more focused on traction, this might not be a solution for you. But if you're about qualifying leads and having information about those who really want to discover your products, this is a great tool, because you have those people listed in your sales system even before they reached to you. And of course, do not forget about this tiny checkbox that they are providing consent for you to use their contacts in your marketing and sales activity. And also be careful about amount of information you are asking them, because the more you ask, the higher chances that they will not get this form submitted. So it should be very minimum, the most important information for you while putting this gateway. So in general, while working with interactive platform or marketing website on your site, the most important thing in terms of technology is actually data that it can give to you, and being able to track the data and use it in your sales and marketing activity. It's quite essential in terms of technology. So there are different ways how you can actually track the data, different tools that you can use. Very basic one, Google Analytics, right? Everyone knows it, but while it focuses mostly on pages, views, numbers, and it kind of describes your audience and try to split it by segments, there is another tool that I have personally discovered on this project together that we worked with Simon, which is called Hotjar. And I found it very interesting. I just wanted to share some insights with you how you can use it in your business. And basically, it allows to analyze behavior of users, not only numbers, but also mostly focus on user experience of your platform. And they describe themselves as the next best thing to sitting beside someone browsing your site, and it's totally true. So imagine you have focus groups for any kind of user visiting your website, and you don't have to pay all of them. You just have a single tool connected there, and you can spy on each of users browsing through your website. So there are different functionalities available by Hotjar. The very first one, basic, it's kind of heat maps. So for any page on your website, you can actually see the usage of it, clicks, and items that are in focus, and you can make some UX conclusions based on that. And I just wanted to share this example with you based on this screen, how we can make some assumptions and conclusions in our case. For example, you see there is a black panel on the bottom, and we can see that the icon on the right corner of it actually works great. It got clicked, it got the main focus, so we got the proper icon in place, just proof for our UX design. The next item we can look at is blue dots, where there seems like nothing to click on. It just on this screen, you cannot see there is a video animation going on background while this page is opened, and it can give us a hint that user has a pattern on our website or on our platform when we give interactive 3D mine and allow them to play and zoom and move around the mine, and now they can try to do the same on each screen where there is 3D animation is played. So it's just a hint for us that what our user can expect from us. And also another example of what we can see from the heat map. For example, you see there is a white circle where all blocks come into, and there are a lot of clicks. And interesting thing is this is just a visual element that is not clickable. So it's give us a very good conclusion in terms of UX, that something that we have designed and thought would be good to represent, for example, data coming through, is not the best thing in practical world and usage by users. So this is how tools come handy in your workflow, and you can simply with just those solutions see what you are doing right and what you can actually do a bit better, not to confuse the users. The other thing, which is, as for me, more powerful in terms of Hotjar solutions, it's session recording. So here you can see example of a screen how these recordings actually look like. So basically, I can see from each session that has been done on the platform from the very beginning when user landed the website and until the browser tab was closed. So I can see all the duration, what user was scrolling, looking into, where mouse was paused, and which screens were viewed. I can see the time of being idle, so doing nothing, so I can concentrate on the most important information. And also there are some hints that Hotjar provides to you, kind of rage clicks also that you can immediately put attention to, and U-turns and errors. So it can be handy in terms of development teams seeing some kind of bugs and issues if there are so. And also there is some kind of basic analytics in terms of device, operational system, country. So I think it's a very good companion for Google Analytics, because here you can actually see how users interact with your website and make conclusions on the behavior from their side. Are they actually doing what you expected them to do? And do you have everything put in place in the right way, being tested already by live audience? But moreover, what you can do with Hotjar and what we have actually provided in our project, we wanted to empower sales team with even more information. So by default, Hotjar has a unique attribute, a unique identifier for each user that is going to the website, and they are doing by kinds of magic and putting additional codes in the browser, but still you can see the same person visiting again and again from the same machine, your website, and all those recordings are getting grouped. But what you can do in addition, actually what we did, we are sending additional data to the Hotjar. For example, when someone is giving us their contact information on the gateway that we were talking before, we are associating and telling Hotjar, okay, please save these contacts for the person that is currently you are recording the session. So basically, as you see on screen here, now I cannot just view someone anonymized being playing with the website, but I can also see who is the person is, the company, level, area of interest of that person. So now it's not only a tool of user experience specialist, but also it's a tool of salespeople, because they can see those potential leads coming into the website and being able to make contact with them. Because again, if those contacts are present here, then we are having consent. We can reach to that person, we can send some information, newsletters. So a lot of things can be done from this point. And to salespeople, just ability to see focus of that person on what kind of products, on what kind of services, what has been skipped immediately. And it's a better thing in terms of communication, because you know directly what to talk about with those potential leads that are going to your website. The next step that you can actually do with it in terms of technology is not to ask sales team to use one more tool against 10 other tools they are already using, because they are having hard life still, not to try to complicate it. And instead, using the technology, you can automate things and send this data that you already have directly to the system the sales team is working with. So this is what we have done in our case. So basically, we are asking users to provide their contacts on a gateway. We associate it with a specific recording on Hotjar. And then we are using the tool that's called Zapier. It's a technical tool that allows you to connect system and do a meaningless integrations. For example, in case when you want to connect Hotjar and Salesforce, it can be about 2 hours to connect those two platforms, and you will spend more time on setting proper accounts in place with proper access and putting custom fields in Salesforce to be able to accept your data. But nevertheless, it's just a step to get this data to Salesforce per dot. In our case, it was, but there can be different type of system you would like it to come to. Basically, you can send this data to the CRM of the sales team. And also, in addition, we have on the platform contact form, which is generated on Salesforce per dot site, meaning when someone is submitting request on contact form, it again goes to the per dot and everything got associated. So eventually we have a list of prospects on per dot site, and for each of them we know with basic information, kind of name, company, email, and other stuff. We can see all linked recordings of sessions of that person visiting our website, so we can analyze behavior of our lead. And also, if that person submitted contact form, we can see the same in one place. So sales team has full profile on potential customers they can be working with, and it's a great tool for them. Another thing that we have found very useful for the sales team, it's an ability to personalize content. In modern web world, the more specific and more personalized you are for your potential customer, the higher chances you have to get that deal. And being able to talk specifically to the customer is very important. So as you see on our product, we have 7 main categories, and each of them is divided by stations. So basically, products are presented in a form that they help to solve some kind of process challenge to improve productivity, decrease costs in relation to specific step. So there are a lot of products in customer portfolios that can be presented and talked about. And if you have someone interested only in one category, it might be too overwhelming to ask them to go through all of these stations and view content, because they might be looking just for one solution or for one process or set of processes. So it's got too much for them. Instead, what we have provided sales team with, we gave them ability to create any kind of custom version of website they would like to have. So basically, they have a specific tool that they can go in, select stations they would like to have, and change the order of name, put the custom title, custom description. As you see on this screen, I have provided example, hello John, enjoy your custom version. So anything they would like. And eventually they just got, as a result of it, simple link that can be easily shared. And what's most important, it can be forwarded and moved further, because the more people know about us, the better. So the concept of being free to share is very important. Yes, so this is on our functionality. Another direction you can think about while working with your interactive platform is being sure you are using up-to-date materials. I think for marketing audience of our webinar, it's quite a known issue when you have 10 different case studies or other materials on specific product, and then something has changed, and you now need to change everything and in different places. It can be a painful activity. So what we have considered in this case, instead of asking marketing team to go and update something separately for the platform, we are having set up automation to connect to media library on customer side. So meaning marketing team is working in the same platform they are used to. So for example, keeping all collateral or case studies in HighSpot, and we just automatically connect to it, check if there are any updates in some of media we are using, if so, updating on the website side, and no one is getting bothered. No one needs to send email or call to IT department, please update this material on website. Everything is done on background automatically and on schedule. So this can be a great and handy thing for marketing teams that is working on the content. And again, while we can think about very custom solution coding, there are also ready solutions, ready tools that can help you with that. Again, about Zapier, by default, it currently supports 6,000 of app integrations. So we can find your system among those and just use it as existing solution. So if to sum up on pros of using interactive platforms that we have found as a new way of communicating about our product, and cons. So it was PowerPoint. If you're just using PDF files generated from PowerPoint and try to tell about your products on the website, you will be limited in amount of information that you can actually communicate to your customers, because the bigger it will be, the harder it will be for users to remember it. And with having a web platform, you can expand as much as you want. You just need to keep in mind this layering information approach that Simon was talking about, that you display the most important valuable thing first on the top. And if there is a need, you can provide more and more details to your users if they are really interested into it, but just give control to them. With PowerPoint, you can have poor information retention, because it's often you need just scroll down and remember some keywords and that's it. But when you are using interactive platform, you are letting users play with your product and get to know better. And for sure, it's being out from other competitors and becoming memorable. With PowerPoint, you might have no data tracking by default. You just need to use some another tools. For example, you can generate PDF and put it in a HighSpot and see who you share it with and percentage of viewers between for the specific PDF file. But in terms of technology, when you are using web platform, you can do a lot. There are a lot of ready solutions. For example, with Hotjar, you can view and analyze recordings of sessions of your prospects. With PowerPoint, you will have no simple way to collect the data, because you cannot integrate forms and make it live, and that is really simple for the web platform. With PowerPoint presentations and PDF files, there is a risk that you will have no brand control and no control of sales flow, because everyone will create something custom on their own, and it's a challenge for you as a marketer not being sure that the brand is communicated in the way that you would like it to be. For example, that the salespeople actually trying to sell a brand set of solutions and portfolio rather than just single product, because they're concentrated on percentage from that deal. And in our case, what we did instead, we are using single source of marketing materials, and we are allowing salespeople play with it, make custom versions, but In any case, the wording, the approach, the message we are trying to communicate, it's about brand and solutions, and we are pretty sure what is then communicated to our potential customers. And creation of nice, engaging presentation can last forever. That's true, especially with PowerPoint and some effects you want to apply. But with web platform, you can keep everything synchronized and up to date. Yes, it takes time to build that web platform, but eventually it gets in a plus for you because it's automated and it's easy. You don't need to create 10 more presentations once more and once more. Yep. So that's basically it on our main topic that we wanted to cover today. Now let's move to questions or comments.
Oh, thanks very much for that, guys. That was interesting. There are a few questions coming through, but Simon, if I can kick it off with you and start interviewing you a little bit, if you don't mind. You mentioned storytelling quite a bit. How important is storytelling, if you like, vis-a-vis the product and versus the product and service?
Well, I think it's essential because, in this day and age, we're all trying to differentiate. We tend to all play in crowded markets and how can we stand above the noise? And the ability to do that is around storytelling. And this is in B2B and B2C. I mean, we engage with products and services. We have trust, which is an essential part of any kind of purchasing decision, is essential. But and the way to do that is to tell a compelling story that makes it memorable. So what we've done here is try to provide a better solution to tell that story, and that means it can be consistent across all touch points. We all have many touch points, so whether it be web, whether it be physical, whether it be VR, it doesn't matter. We have more control, and as Tanya said, we have more trackability, so we know because it's all linked, and it's not just individual separate entities. We know that you, Patrick, you've engaged on these key elements of the storytelling, but not the other bits. We know what you've missed, we know what you've engaged with, and so forth. So we can tailor our marketing and our messaging to either the bits that you've missed or the areas that you specifically are interested in, beyond having to rely on the sales team to do that. So that's a key element of good storytelling and differentiation. Well, I can't say, it's too late in the day. I've been talking all day.
Well, we all have to become writers and storytellers now, do we?
Well, that's what you have agencies for.
I see. Very good. But you mentioned about the different levels of C-suite messaging versus the next level down or whatever, and the level of detail you need on all of that. So how hard is it to tailor that information for the different users?
Well, it shouldn't be too hard. Most of us have a sales team, and they're typically, an amazing source of knowledge to help build this out. Your sales team will the good sales team will understand who they're talking to and kind of what elements of our current, let's say our current sales deck that we use will resonate with different types of people depending on who they're sitting in front of. So it's really a case of distilling that out and then separating them essentially, and allowing that we're evolving the sales deck that everybody has, from also from a starting point with all this. We all have favorite case studies or our kind of a standard deck and so forth, and that tells the story that helps differentiate. So that would be a good starting place to help build the framework around building something out that can be cross touch point such as this.
Okay. I'm looking at some of these questions. Some of them you're kind of answering on the fly kind of thing, but I already have a website with tens of different case studies displayed within PDF files. how can I upgrade to the solution you're describing? Can this be done in stages? Question for Simon, maybe even Tetiana has an opinion on that.
Well, as I kind of did actually just kind of touch on that a little bit. We all have a sales deck, and you know, it doesn't have to be. You know, we probably have a vast array of case studies and things like that, or value propositions and so forth. And it's really a case of if you're looking to start off small, what are the key ones? What's the story we're trying to tell? What are the key elements of that we can demonstrate that we can solve those problems? And you know, let's start there.
So I'm thinking back to in previous lines, and even within DeepInspire or whatever, you get these salespeople, you get this master presentation file that will have a PowerPoint with 150 slides in it, and then you pick and choose the ones you want for each customer that you're going to go and have a meeting. And salespeople quite like that, because you kind of think, who am I going to see? What do they want to hear? How do I pick and choose which one from this master slide? So how does that then interact, if you like, with what you're proposing?
Well, what we did with Hexagon, because that's a very real thing, you know, as you say, you know, we need to be able to deliver personalized content. So one of the slides back there that Tanya was demonstrating was all of the key stations, and in this particular example, I think there's 30 something of them. You can select which ones you want, in much the same way as you would build a deck with individual slides. If you think of each of the station as a slide, you can select the ones that you want. You can then reorder them in any fashion, just like you can with PowerPoint. And I can then send you that link, just like I would in PowerPoint, like with WeTransfer or what have you. But the benefit is a couple of things. One, it never dies. You know, so, and it tracks, so I can see your usage, and that's fed into the system. If the link is forwarded on, I can see their usage, it's fed into the system, whereas obviously a PDF or a PowerPoint is gone forever. It's out of my control. I can also update the presentation, and I know, for instance, that if we make you know, this is the single point of truth that's in it. If we make changes to a product or a service within it, within the system, we can update it, and then whoever it is then opening that that story, that presentation 2 months from now, they're seeing the updated information, not the outdated information, which they would be if it was all embedded in a standalone PDF. So there's a lot of elements to this that you know, I'm a salesperson, so you know, I speak from experience here, that we tried to future-proof it around some of the problems that salespeople tend to have. As you say, we all have our favorite deck, and you know, never change it, and you know, all this kind of stuff, and you know, it sits on our computer, it doesn't sit in the cloud, you know, because you know,
We think we know the work.
Exactly. So yeah, we've tried to assist the Hexagon as a whole in answering that problem with sales.
No, I can see that. So I guess what, kind of going full circle, you're aiding the salespeople with their storytelling ability, but B, you're then collecting data to aid them to be more succinct with the next story they tell to that customer, I guess, isn't it? Or other new customers.
Well, yeah, and feeds information back into the marketing engine as well. So it's a win-win.
That's good. We've got one for Tanya. Hotjar seems to be quite a hot topic here. Is Hotjar free? I asked about Hotjar pricing. Is it affordable for medium-sized businesses? Can you use it on mobile as well? Is it GDPR compliance? How does it follow that? So, Tetiana, I hope you're.
I think we need to contact Hotjar to pay us for this presentation. Yeah. So in terms of Hotjar, there are different plans that can be actually applied. There is basic free plans that you can use, but it's limited in number of sessions per month. It's about 5,000 sessions per month. So it's not kind of users. Just remember that if someone is visiting your website for 3 times per day, so you'll have 3 sessions per day only from that person. But it's limited, the basic plan, of course, limited. For example, if you would like to send data as we were describing with this call, send a custom data, you cannot do it with a free plan. You need to purchase a pro plan. And again, pricing goes differently depending on the amount of sessions you want to have. So it starts from 40 euros per month if there are 7,000 of sessions, and you can go to 700 euro per month if you want to have 200 of 1,000 sessions. So everything depends on the size of your business, but I believe if you have 200 sessions on your website per month, it's not an issue for you, 700 euros to pay for this tool, especially for the hints that it is providing to you. And if to cover a question about mobile usage, no, it's not supporting mobile, unfortunately, but it works well with the web application. In our case, we didn't have a requirement, or we didn't considering on the early stages the mobile usage, and the product we were building, it was for tablets plus, even for table touch screens and tables used on trade shows that we were working with. And in terms of mobile, yes, you can use this interactive technology for the mobile devices. It just will be quite another type of application and just a little bit different set of technologies, but still it can work with the different environments. And also I see a question on GDPR for Hotjar. So by default, everything gets anonymized. So basically, they do not store or even display you some privacy data. So even when someone is entering their private information into form, Hotjar will show it as a star, so it will not display to you this information on the recordings. And only when you are asking your users for consent and pushing that data, that's the moment when you can see some kind of private data on Hotjar. But to follow GDPR, you have asked for consent, and if there will be requests from that user to delete any kind of information related to them, you can easily do it from Hotjar because everything is grouped among one person. So yes, they are GDPR compliant.
Are you sure you don't work for Hotjar? Because that's an awful lot of information you have on your fingertips about someone else's product. But we'll have to be investigating.
Yes, I am sure I don't work with Hotjar at all. It just when you need to integrate something into a product you are working on, you need to be 100% sure about what you are doing and whether you will have any specifically GDPR issues, because it's quite important topic.
I see. Good. Well, thanks for that. I don't see any other questions. I will give everyone.
I did see one, Patrick. Somebody mentioned about wouldn't it be quicker and easier to do a just to do a PowerPoint presentation, and you're absolutely right. It would be much quicker and much easier to do a PowerPoint presentation. This is not a standalone fix for every situation. As proof of the pudding, we're using a PowerPoint presentation to deliver this webinar. It would not be beneficial to do that for this. But what it does enable you to do is if we're being measured on not on quick and easy, but on sales, on engagement, and so forth, then we might need to look at a more lengthy kind of semi-permanent solution that will deliver against those key criteria, as opposed to the easy way, but maybe is not performing in the way that it should be.
I guess it's a question. I guess it's a question here, what is your purpose and focus? So if you just want to be present on web, you can do a WordPress website and put there PDF files from PowerPoint, and that's it. But whether it will become for you memorable from that version of PowerPoint, not pretty sure, because there are too many competitors using the same approach.
And then, building a website like you have described seems like a huge project. Would you agree?
It's a scaled project. It's a scalable project, and there's no question it's substantially larger than building a PowerPoint presentation. But then if you have multiple sales teams, then that becomes multiple PowerPoint presentations. And then you look at the ability to tie in marketing and so forth, and it becomes a much thing, as well as, understanding your journey. This when you start to tie in all the different touch points that you're typically working with, and how by creating all of these assets and these stories that you're then able to utilize them, in like we do in this particular instance on big touch screens in conference booths, for physical events. I mentioned before with software, we've done VR and so forth. So this, although it looks like a big project, when you divide it up between all the different channels that it can address as a single outlay, then it's not quite as overwhelming.
Yeah, and you can actually, as we did, we implemented it in stages. I guess there was some similar question on that. You shouldn't build something for 2 years and then push it on live. Of course, nobody is doing that anymore. I'm hoping nobody is doing that. So basically, you just need to understand the core value you want to communicate, the very first thing that going to be there, and main part of your story that brings the biggest result for the business as well. And you just start with that first main part, get it done, push it live, and you have already users playing with it, interacting, you have already leads coming in, and most important, you have a kind of feedback, because only when it gets live you can fully understand is it perceived as you expect it to be, and then while it is already up and running, you can continue the very next part of your story. You can expand, for example, as we saw, there are almost 40 stations. Just start with 3 of them, then add few more, and you will see on the go what actually people need.
So is this kind of like Web 3.0 that we've been hearing about in its infancy, or some chuckles?
Yeah.
Great. Well, thank you very much. I think that is all the Q&A, unless anyone's got any others. No. Okay. All right. Well, great. So can I just say thank you to Simon and Tetiana for all their work on this. I think it's been a very thought-provoking session, so I appreciate it. And just to reiterate to the people, the attendees, we will send you all webinar slides this week. And we at DeepInspire, we intend to do more of these regularly. So watch the space, and if you have any topics you'd like us to cover, feel free to drop me a line, and we will do our best to get some more interesting people online to do it for us. And on that note, I will thank you all for your time and say goodbye.
Thanks, everyone. Appreciate it. Been great chatting.
Thank you. Have a great evening, everyone. Bye.